Hello, thanks for joining me today. I am going to walk through how to access the addenda for concessions and commissions within zip form. So there are 4 addenda that have been added. There are several automatically applied templates that deal with these forms. So currently they're not forms. There's a distinction between forms and documents. These are documents, they are PDFs. In order to make them forms, they have to go through some designing and testing over at ZipForm. So it takes a little bit to get those to that point, making them fillable within ZipForm and all of the master fields added. So currently they're PDFs, they're automatically applied anytime a new listing or sale transaction is created that is for a residential property, a condo, a multi-unit, or vacant land. So there are 8 new templates that will appear as office templates. Each one of those does have a purpose. They only need to be used once within a transaction. So here we go. Let's get into it. We will start a new listing. I will say new listing. And as you can see, I'm acting as an agent of Grosse Pointe. So when I click on that residential button, it tells me what's going to automatically apply to my transaction. Since I'm acting as Grosse Pointe Office, I'm getting the listing package there, but I'm also getting this REO seller docs. So let's save that and open up this transaction, see what we've got. As per usual, it opens to the summary page. I'm going to bounce over here to the Documents tab, and I can see that this REO compensation between brokers has been added. It's kind of hanging out here on its own, not really within the folder structure of my template. And that's really to draw attention to it. And it's also because it's just a PDF that's been added to the templates on its own. There is no folder structure within the template that it actually resides right now. So if I want to go ahead and start filling this out right now, I can do that by opening it and clicking here on Markup. From there, I will take a text box and I will start going with it. Let's say today, property address. You do have to add all of this stuff manually. It's not currently populated for autofill. So we've got these text boxes that we can add. I can go listing brokerage. It's your listing. So you say REO Grosse Pointe. You would obviously fill this out completely. I'm just doing this for argument's sake here. So this is for when you get the buyer. Buyer name. And then buyer's brokerage. Click on that text box. Pull it in here. You just click anywhere to drag it. Let's say it's just buyer brokerage. And then once you get to these spaces, is it going to be a percentage or a dollar amount that you're offering? Text box, we're going to say we're still offering up to 3% here of the final gross point price. And then it will be signed and dated by the listing brokerage, which you would add now because it's just asking for the text. Listing broker, and then buyer broker. And then this is reserved for the signature of the representative of the brokerage and the date that they've signed it. So now I have this form, I can save it as, and then if you wanted to save it as commission, oops, for the whatever buyer name. Okay. So it's going to revert back to the REO compensation agreement between brokers. That's the original form that we just saved. And now you can see, because I've named it something else, there are two. I saved it as, there are two in here. When I open this one, you can see everything that I just filled out retained on there. And whatever else needs to be filled in can be filled in when you're in DocuSign. You would pull this into your signing just like any other signing. Say when you have a buyer and you are pulling in the lead paint and the seller's disclosure from the listing, you're going to populate this the exact same way that you would do those forms. Whether you're using DocuSign or you're using Addenda, the process is exactly the same. So let's go ahead and create a buy-side transaction. You'll see there are all four of these new documents available under a new purchase. And also you'll see REO buyer docs before it was REO listing docs, and the other two automatically applied templates that just happen with this office. So now let's go over here to the Documents tab, and you'll see several PDFs. Deposit Express, that's always been there. Now we have the buyer broker compensation addendum. We have that compensation between brokers. We have compensation and concession addendum and seller concession addendum. So all of those are available to every buy-side transaction that you create. And you would fill them out exactly the same way that I just demonstrated on the listing side. I'm not going to go through that again. I believe everybody's got a good handle on that. What I will say though is, if you have an existing transaction and you have a need for one of these documents, it could be a little bit confusing. So let's talk about that for a moment. I already have a transaction. We're pretending like these addenda, they're not here. So I would go up to Apply Template. You can apply a template at any point in a transaction. You'll notice there are several named the same thing: REO Buyer Docs, REO Seller Docs. This is because we need one individual template for each type of transaction. So whether it's res, condo, multi-unit, vacant land, it doesn't matter which one of these you would pull into a transaction. Any one of them will suffice. It's not restricted to that type of transaction once the transaction already exists. So if I were to go ahead and hit this and hit apply, you would see those documents pull into this transaction once again. Because they're PDFs, it will duplicate them. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. I appreciate your attention today. Have a great day.